Carbon pricing used to be a niche economic policy, but now is seen as one of the most effective ways for countries to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Carbon pricing applies a cost to carbon pollution, and then that cost is passed along to the polluters. By putting an actual monetary value on carbon, society can then hold emitters responsible for the damage greenhouse gases cause. Greenhouse gas emissions vary across Europe, and certainly some countries are doing better than others. In 2017, Sweden and Romania had among the lowest per capita emissions, while Poland, the Czech Republic, and Iceland were among the worst offenders. There are two main ways of pricing carbon, a tax and a cap-and-trade system. A carbon tax is pretty straightforward. Firms pay a certain amount for every ton of carbon they emit. This tax and this cost then gets passed along to consumers. A cap-and-trade system is a bit more nuanced. It puts a limit or a cap on total greenhouse gas emissions and sets up a marketplace where firms can trade their emissions allowance. This incentivizes companies to produce less greenhouse gases because they can make extra money selling their excess allowances. It also disincentivizes firms from increasing their carbon emissions because if they do, they're going to have to buy more allowances. The EU's emissions trading system is a cap-and-trade scheme which covers power stations, energy-intensive industries, and civil aviation. The European Union says that the system has been working well. Emissions in the sectors covered have fallen 21% since the system was set up in 2005. Fewer carbon permits are being created and more are being auctioned off. But the scheme has its critics. They say that the price hasn't been high enough to steer consumers away from dirty technology. The price of a ton of CO2 languished under $10 for years after the financial crisis, lessening any financial incentive for firms to cut back. The price has gone up significantly over the past 2 years, but the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says that carbon prices probably need to be 20 times higher in Europe to rein in fossil fuel emissions. Germany is now taking matters into its own hands. A $60 billion climate package will come into force in 2020. It includes a carbon pricing scheme. Starting in 2021, a ton of carbon will be slapped with a $27 levy. That rises to $61 by 2025. The goal in Germany is to cut greenhouse gas emissions to 55% of their 1990 level by 2030.